If you keep moving, I can't keep you in the picture.
Well, that's why you're a talented photographer. Okay. All right. So, today we're going to make spanakopita. Spanakopita is a Greek spinach pie, I guess you'd call it, made with PHYLLO pastry. First of all, you can see that I've got a whole bunch of chopped spinach. Alright, that's going to be the basis of the filling. To that, we're going to add scallions or green onions, eggs, dill, fresh parsley, butter, nutmeg, kosher salt, and olive oil, and probably a really important part is the feta cheese, which is wonderful.
And eggs.
And eggs, I think I already said that. Okay, this is how I get the PHYLLO. What you have to do is lay a damp dish towel over it because the stuff will dry out almost instantly. So you're going to want to kind of keep it damp so that you can still use it. Okay, so I'm going to start opening these packages of spinach and putting them in a microwave dish. And I'm going to start running them in the microwave and thawing them out. Frozen spinach, when it comes like this, has a lot of water in it. And you'll see that once the stuff is thawed out. You'll see just how much water that I'm going to be wringing out of this, and it is important to get all of the water out of it. If you don't, you're going to end up with something that's too wet. But you can see this is how frozen spinach comes. Frozen chopped spinach, good stuff. We've got this pretty much thawed out in the microwave. It's a little icy still, but I think it's going to be okay. We're going to turn this out on a cloth here. This is a good way to get all the water out, because there's plenty of water in here. You might want to use a colored dish towel, because if you use a white one, you can guarantee that it's going to be a green one when you're done doing this. So you might want to, if you have a dark dish towel, that's real good too. Okay, so now we've got this all mounted here, and we're going to start squeezing it out. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're squeezing the water out. And that big wad of spinach is all in here. You can see all the water coming out of here. There's quite a bit of it. And again, this is probably the easiest way to get the water out. Doesn't look like so much after it got the water out, though. Like a little ball of it here. Okay, that's probably good. Now, I want you to watch as I open this up, and you'll see what we got here. See, now we got is like a little ball of spinach, and a little piece of thread we'll take out. Okay, so here's our 1/4 cup of olive oil. Nice, pretty green color. That goes in. Okay, we'll move that out of the way. Okay. The next thing that's going to go in is the spinach ball that we've already did. We're going to shred this up really nice. I want you to see how I'm doing this. I don't want it to stay all clumped together. I want to kind of spread it out, because all this stuff is going to be mixed up with other ingredients. It looks kind of like the stuff that you'd clean out from underneath your lawnmower after you've mowed the lawn a bit. And I think next time if I run short of spinach, I might just do that. Okay, so that's pretty good where it is now. Now the next ingredient is going to be half a cup of chopped scallions. So let me go ahead and chop. Now we're going to add the chopped scallions that we just cut up. Okie dokie. Here's an easy way to do parsley. I saw this on a cooking show. I'd like to give attribution, but I can't remember which one it was. But I can bet it was on the Food Network. All you need to do is get a chef knife and scrape. And what that does is it pulls the edible part away from the stem. Let me finally chop this. We're going to dump that in. This is the dill weed. If you've got fresh dill, you're going to want to use 2 tablespoons of fresh dill weed. But if you've got dry dill weed like I do, 1 tablespoon is what you need. So dump that in. Okay. 4 eggs slightly beaten. So this is the feta cheese. It tastes real good, real salty, crumbly. I want to taste some. Very good. I'm going to crumble this. Half a teaspoon of salt. I'm using kosher salt. For some reason I think you can use, when you use kosher salt, you use a little bit less, and a lot of people are on a sodium restricted diet. So a teaspoon of pepper.
Okay.
We're getting ready to cook the filling in the frying pan on the stove, but while that's happening, I also want to go ahead and get the butter melted. You have to melt this butter really, really slow. You don't want to scorch it, so you're going to want to do it the slow way on very low heat. We're using a quarter stick to start. We will need more, but I want to use this. I don't want to end up with a whole bunch of melted butter and no place to go with it. Notice that I'm breaking up all these lumps of spinach, as well as making sure all the feta cheese is crumbled. Really nice and fine like that. Now what I want you to notice is the egg is indeed cooking. It will look like something like this little streak right here. See that little white streak right there? That's what it's going to look like as the egg cooks. A little bit of nutmeg, and it just takes a dash. And I'm going to call that a dash. So this is how phyllo dough comes. It comes in its little package here. And the thing about phyllo dough is this stuff dries out really, really fast. And so that's why I have a dish towel over here somewhere.
What if you put it down there?
It's right here. So this is how it comes. It looks an awful lot like paper, little thin sheets of paper. Not much to it. Okay, so I've got all the phyllo dough here, and the size of the pans I'm going to use to make this mean that I'm going to need to cut this into thirds. So what we're going to do, I'm going to cut it just like it's paper. Now, because this stuff dries out almost immediately when exposed to air, you need to keep the part that's not being used right at the moment covered with a wet dish towel. If you don't, this stuff will dry out immediately and will be just like paper, real brittle and pretty much unusable. These are little loaf pans. So the reason that I painted the bottoms of these pans with butter is when it anchors the first piece of phyllo dough into the bottom of the pan. So now we're going to start doing this. And here's how we do this. We take a piece of phyllo dough, and again, this stuff is just like paper. Real thin. And sometimes they're not the pretty ones. So what you do is you put the pretty ones on the bottom. As you can see here, it's a little wrinkled. We'll try and fix it a little bit, but you can see how it's a little wrinkled. It's not all pretty, but it's not going to show. What you do then is you take your butter and you paint it. And then you add another piece of phyllo. And again, I need to keep this phyllo dough, there we go, underneath the wet dish towel so that it won't dry out, because it dries out extremely fast. Okay, that's 2. I like to put 7 layers in here. There's 3. Now this has 7 layers of phyllo in this little pan. and it's saturated with butter. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back over to my mix over here that we prepared earlier and put a thin layer of this spinach mixture on top of it, of the 7 layers that we put there. I'm also going to preheat my oven too. Alright, that looks like a fair amount in there. I'm going to follow this with 7 more pieces or sheets of PHYLLO. There's one. So now it's all covered up. Now on the top ones, you're going to kind of want to blot rather than paint, because otherwise the PHYLLO dough is going to stick to the brush and that's just going to cause more problems. So you just kind of blot. And this is the 7th one. We're going to make the 7th one really kind of pretty, because it'll cover up all of our little mistakes and wrinkles and stuff like that on the previous ones. So make sure this one's nice and pretty. But even if it's not pretty, you will be forgiven once people taste this, because it tastes incredible. Okay, so that's a completed one. Okay, this is ready to go in the oven. So we've got one down, and now we're going to just repeat the process with these other ones. Okay, so now we've got the first 4 done. And this is what they look like before they go into the oven. Again, there's 7 layers of pastry on the bottom, and then there's the filling, and then there's 7 layers of pastry on top, and there's butter in between each layer of pastry. So we're going to put them in the oven now at 350 degrees. And bake them off. And while they're baking off, I guess they're going to be in there probably about maybe 30 minutes, 30 or 40 minutes. We'll check it a little bit later to see what the color is looking like, but we want to end up with something like a nice golden brown. Okay, so this SPANAKOPITA has been in the oven for about a half an hour, and this is what we're looking at right here. You can see how the top is kind of golden brown like that, and it's a little bit browned around the edges and stuff. And you'll notice that it pulls away from the edges of the pan, and that's going to make it really easy to pop out, because when this cooks it contracts. So getting it out of the pan is generally not a problem. After cutting it, I wanted to show you a cross section of what it looks like. And if I get in real close, you can almost see the little tiny layers, little thin layers of pastry that create both the bottom part and then the top part. And you can see that the filling is inside. And don't worry if the top is crumbling. It's kind of supposed to be that way. It's okay to have the top be crumbled in appearance, and that there's really nothing wrong with that. But this stuff is really good. Hope you'll give it a try, and thanks for watching.